Hey everybody, what is up? It's your good friends Cory Camp and Brian McGill back at you with another What's Up Wednesday. Cory, how we doing this morning?
We are doing good. I'm on my second cup of coffee this morning, so I'm gonna get things done today. It's gonna happen. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. The chicks, I know I talked about this a couple weeks ago. We got chicks a couple weeks ago. They are growing like crazy. And they're starting to fly around a little bit, which makes me a little bit nervous. But we got the chicken coop built, and it'll be a couple more weeks before we can put them out there. But the kids are loving it. I'm not a big bird person. We had chickens when I was younger. We had a really mean rooster, and so I've never thought I would have chickens of my own, but it's turned out to be an amazing thing for our kids. I mean, so much science and exploration that they're doing with those little birds. So it's been good. It's been
Well,
good. How about you?
the McGill family grew up with chickens as well. I'm not sure if I ever told you that because
No.
there was one Easter that my mom took my brother, sister, and I. I don't know. It was the equivalent of Tractor Supply back then.
Yeah, yeah.
And we each brought home a peep, and the peeps lived forever. And we have this like hill in our backyard.
Hmm.
And I, what your concern is valid because these chickens were running off the hill and like flying for a
Oh
little
my
bit.
gosh.
It was
Oh,
so awesome. And we had a rooster and like a Henry and a Henrietta chicken, like a rooster and a female. And it lived so long that it was crowing. Eventually these chickens ended up at my uncle's, but it was you're in for stories for a lifetime.
yeah.
The
I
Camp family.
I'm sure we have some pretty great stories about that mean old rooster and my Oma, my grandmother. Um, it- we share that about every time we get together as a family. Remember that time? So I know our kids are going to definitely have stories. We're not too rural out here. We're on a couple of acres, but we've got neighbors nearby, and so I'm hoping we were supposed to get all pullets, all hens. So hopefully none of them start growing because we'd have to rehome the crowers. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. They're quite sweet and they love their necks to be rubbed. And so I don't know, they might change my perception on birds after all. So
I don't know.
in other news, the PLC course has been open for 3 weeks now, and we've gotten some great feedback from individuals who have taken this course. It's a free course. If you've never been to our learning center, go to learn.simi.com. Check it out. Especially applicable right now are our activities around virtual PLCs and getting your teachers collaborative, whether you're using SIDME or not. There's some formats if you're wondering what does a virtual PLC structure need to be so it's efficient and effective and meaningful for the individuals that are part of that community. Check out our Learning Center course. There's tons of videos to even give you some background if you're newer to PLCs or you're wanting to look at the research-based part of things. But then we have those activities. So that's been great getting the feedback from our audience members on how that's been supporting them during this time. You've got a webinar coming up, Brian.
Yes, we have a very exciting webinar with some of a campus that has been utilizing our virtual coaching service for a couple of years now. They have some really exciting stories to tell. The principal Kevin Brown and several staff members will be joining us, and the panel discussion will be hosted by Dr. Justin Bader of the Principal Center.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the use cases they'll be discussing is how our virtual coaching program helped several members become coaches themselves, and then also help some of those younger teachers on the campus find new skills and really find their wings. I'm excited and to hear some of the stories they'll be telling us on May 12th at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll put a link to sign up You can also go to the SIBME webpage, www.sibme.com. Likely a sign up block will appear. But anyways, get excited for how virtual coaching with video is helping remake the way teachers learn at work. May 12th.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. And, just because you're, even housed on the same campus with your teachers as an instructional coach doesn't mean some of these virtual coaching tips and strategies can't help you. So I know even when I was housed on my campus, it was hard for me to get into classrooms sometimes, or I had certain teachers who needed me face to face with them more than others who still wanted some support, but they didn't really need me in their classroom. So I definitely employed some of these virtual coaching strategies. So this is a good one for anyone, virtual or face to face coaching. Everyone's virtual right now, so definitely a good one to check out.
Virtual coaching has been a boomtown for us here
Yeah.
at Sydney. So we're excited about the the stories and the interest and the potential a lot of folks will bring to the discussion.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of virtual coaching, our guest today, we met her a few years ago at an ASCD conference. She works with a lot of the schools that our virtual coaching teams work with, especially down there in Florida. So let me introduce our guest today, Christel Reaves of the Connected Class. Welcome, Christel.
Good morning, Cory and Brian. How are you all today?
We're good.
We're doing great, Christel. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And so I'm really excited, especially as we continue to be impacted by the pandemic of the coronavirus and practicing social distancing. Schools have been closed for a while now, and that's not going to change, especially in some of our states. We're getting more and more who are saying the rest of the year will be that remote learning experience. And so our classrooms and our homes are so much more connected now than they ever have been. But that's the business that you're in. That's what the Connected Class is all about. So tell us a little bit about Connected Class.
Okay, well, Connected Class originally started as Crystal Clear Learning Innovations 10 years ago, and we really focused on doing customized professional development for educators. But through those years, we really looked at research and we looked at the impact that we were having and said, you know what, we really need to connect more to the parents at home. So how can we do that? Educators want to help parents, but their challenge is they have so much on their plate. How are they going to do it? And a lot of parents want to help their children at home, but they don't know how. So how do we bridge that gap? And that's really our goal at Connected Class. And we started doing business as Connected Class this past year. And we do a lot of different things from professional development at schools, analyzing their data, setting goals, but then we're intentional and we say, how can we get parents involved at home to help increase their student achievement, to help our school reach those goals and their children impact instruction? So we've come up with some creative solutions. We have a new product called Learning Link, and it's simple and easy for the teacher to use. They find which video they want in either reading or math, and they push it home to the parent. But it's a game, a strategy, or an activity that's fun for the parents. Because I know right now with the pandemic, there are some feedback that I get from some parents saying, oh my goodness, the work I have to do at home, I have no idea what an inference is. I don't know what these terms are. Help. How do I support my child?
Mm-hmm.
Where this Learning Link product, it teaches the parent the background information, but it's more hands-on engaging, and it's not as if you're making your child sit there and doing paper pencil work. It's something that they actually want to do.
Yeah. Well, and I've been checking out everything that you have on your Connected Class platform, a lot of those learning links. And, I'm a parent, and one thing, my oldest is in 4th grade, and I noticed very early on, like kindergarten of my firstborn, that all of my educational skills, all my classroom management skills, everything that worked with me in my classroom with my students does not work as a parent at home. I cannot be both. It's so hard. And so we've been implementing a few of the strategies that you have. Like one of them it's on the Connected Class Facebook page as well, is the Snapchat and reading. So you turn on that Snapchat and you put on a fun filter, a silly filter, and you read with that. And that really, it helps keep my 5-year-old sitting with me and kind of still and engaged in that, because sometimes she's running all over the place. But these strategies are really, that the fun piece is the most important part, right? After working all day, I don't want to come home and fight with my child to help them stay engaged academically, but I do want to have an impact. So I love these strategies. I think these are great, even though I have some of the background as an educator. So they're some good game changers, definitely. And I think it's an important aspect, especially where we are right now, because like I said, we're more connected now than we ever have been before. So
lightens the mood a little too, because my daughter, I could connect with everything you said. My daughter, I'm homeschooling her obviously right now, and she is a gifted student. She's in advanced math, and they had asked her to do this multiplication times sheet and see how fast she can do it. And she just had this attitude like, please, why am I doing this? And the goal was for 40 problems in 1 minute. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. Well, she got 17 correct in 1 minute. And she was like, what? I'm advanced. What? And I was like, oh my goodness, we better start doing some more of our math videos. So I broke out 2 of the games. We did multiplication war and multiplication madness. And it was perfect because my husband is working from home now too. And he heard us laughing instead of like at each other. And he came upstairs and we got competitive. So we were racing each other. And my husband's an engineer, and my 4th grader beat the engineer. So she trash talked him all day. But the good news is the educator won. So I still have my street cred. But this was the most important part for me as a mom, is that my daughter at first had rolly eyes, like, please, are you kidding me? Why do I have to do timesheets? And for her, she kept yelling out, this is so much fun. This is so much fun. And then after that 20 minutes of play, I re-gave her the same assessment, and she got 30 right in 1 minute. So she has 76% increase while she was laughing and having fun. And then every single night since then, she has brought the deck of cards to me. Come on, Mom, let's play. Come on, Mom, let's play. So for me, I think it's kind of light in the mood of what's going on in our world. So hopefully, some parents could take advantage of that.
Yeah, definitely.
I think kids definitely need to gamify learning as much as we can these days, don't you think? I mean, that's I mean, I think that, well, I mean, I found that with that being very helpful for my lacrosse players and a lot of my friends' kids. So when anything you can make a game, it's great.
Yeah,
So,
there's a lot of research around that as well. Just the simple act of laughing while learning can stimulate more of your neurons and kind of deepen those pathways of the learning. So definitely, I mean, there's some research behind that. It's not just fun and games. It really makes a difference.
It really does. It really does. And it was neat. Was yesterday I had her do the timesheet, and it's been like over a week or so. And since she's practicing, she got 45 right in 1 minute. So here she had started at 17, hadn't played for a few days, and she retained it. So
spaced practice. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So are we ready for our next question?
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
All right. So just kind of a lot has kind of changed in our lives since we've been, quarantine season has set in. What are some of the tips you have for educators and families as they work together to support students during these unprecedented times?
Right. Well, first and foremost, I'm going to say be creative and have fun, because it's stressful. And I know when I first got my daughter's homeschool packet, I mean, I'm an educator. I was a little overwhelmed. Like, what does this mean? What does it look like? I couldn't imagine being a parent not having an education background and trying to teach some of that information without that support materials. So my first tip would be for educators really to reach out to the parents and supply them with the resources that they need to work with their child at home. And research shows, the new wave of evidence, that when parents are involved with their students' learning, they earn higher grades, they take more challenging courses. They have less behavior problems. They go on to college and careers. So it's really important for the educators to do that. With parents, it's so important for them to get involved in their child's learning. Those simple daily things like reading to your child. So an additional tip for the educator is maybe you're assigning reading in a creative way, and it looks a little different than what it would have looked like in your classroom. Maybe it's providing those extra practices with your basic math skills and fractions and so forth. Because I know I didn't realize that my daughter, her fluency with her basic math facts was not as fast as I thought it was, because she's a very advanced math student. And by just taking that time to just practice those basic skills at home in a fun, creative way can still advance their learning during this unprecedented time. And my years of working with teachers, and what I love, especially when I have K to 12 trainings, my high school teachers always say, well, what were my middle school teachers doing? These kids don't know this. And my middle school teachers say, well, what were the elementary teachers doing?
Right.
And one of those common areas are kids knowing their basic facts. So educators, get creative, help the parents so they don't feel overwhelmed, and parents, just have fun with your kids while you have this extra time together.
Yeah, definitely. And you have, I want to share the Facebook group that you have that's open. And this is where I got a few of the strategies we've definitely been trying. My older students are reading. They do their reading block in the morning, their silent sustained reading and the reading that they have for their classes, because they each have some assigned readings. And my preschooler will hop on some of her reading apps and listen while I kind of get my day started, because I'm working from home. And so I've also found that the days are lengthening, and we've had some great weather here, and we're getting to bedtime, and I'm going, ooh, do we have time for a 5-minute book or not? And they're just ready to either play with the chicks, or go straight to bed, right? So these are some really fun ways to make sure that we're still reading together, and we're doing some read aloud things as well as the reading that they're doing with their schoolwork. So, yeah. So this is, they can find this on Facebook by searching Stop Whining and Just Read With Me already. I know I've said those words, especially for my oldest one.
Absolutely. And like you had said earlier, being an educator and a parent, you can teach a million children, but then when it comes to working with your own, it can be pretty challenging. This actually created when my daughter was in 2nd grade. And what I loved about her classroom teacher was she assigned nightly reading. And a lot of teachers do that, but they don't have accountability. Well, she had accountability. We had to sign off on a log. So even though I'm an educator and I know the value of nightly reading and how it increases vocabulary and it's so important, you get busy and you just don't really want to do it.
And you're scrambling to get teeth brushed and pajamas on and everybody in bed at a time. Yeah.
And so that year, I would have to sign off every night, and I did not want to model lying. So it was either my daughter was whining about not wanting to read, or it was me.
Right. Yes.
I don't have time. We can't do this. So one night I sat down with my daughter, Hope, and I said, listen, we got to come up with some creative ways so that we want to do this every night. So that's actually when we came up with most of these ideas, and we just had a lot of fun. And then if I didn't want to do it, she was like, come on, Mom. And we did it. So it's been a lot of fun.
Well, and this is definitely something, a couple of the ones that we've tried, I've let my 4th grader or my 2nd grader read, which increases. So it's not me doing the read aloud. I'm letting them do it for me and my husband and our youngest one. So these are some really great strategies. So I'm so glad that you have these.
There's one with sharing with someone special. So since right now we're in that quarantine time and you can't always see your grandparents, it's just using your recording device and reading to it and then sending it to your grandparents and having them give you feedback to just help with the reading, but then also help with that social distancing and bringing us a little closer together.
Yeah, yeah, and that's powerful stuff. My two oldest have been sending short stories to their grandparents and getting feedback on their skills as writers. So, and that was something that they wanted to do themselves. They wanted some feedback, and so it's been pretty cool. Well, Christel, thank you so much for sharing the class with us today and a few of these tips. Definitely, audience, reach out to us in the comments below if you've got any questions for Christel after the show. I'm just excited to continue trying some of these things and using some of these at home. This is definitely.
I have a 5-minute one for you for those busy nights.
Yes.
It's called Give Me 5, and it's seriously 5 minutes.
That's perfect. Because those 5-minute read aloud, those 5-minute night stories aren't always really 5 minutes. I'll look at the text and go, oh, it's going to be a little bit longer than 5 minutes. So I love a good 5 minutes. I can commit to that, especially on those days where I'm the one whining. So.
Well, and this one is creative because it's asking the child to reread the same text. So they read the text for 1 minute, they write about it for 1 minute, and then they reread the same section for 1 minute. And then for the next minute, they write additional information they picked up the second time they read. Because most kids hate going back into text. So this is a little creative way to get them to do that. And then the 5th minute is actually talking about what you learned after you read with your parents.
I love that. Yeah. And that's a great way. So many times we'll ask our kids, what'd you learn today? Even when they're learning at home right now, what'd you learn today? And they're like, I can't remember some of the things that they're doing. So I think that's a great way to have that conversation, but you were right next to them when it happened. And so you can have a conversation instead of going, I can't remember. So
yes.
Great stuff. Well, thanks again, Christel, for joining us. I know we'll be staying connected, and we'll definitely see you again soon.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, Christel.
Bye, Cory.
We'll see you out there.
Bye.
All right, Brian, today we've got one more shout out for this week. I'm super excited about this one. This one's not so much SIBME related. A couple of weeks ago, our customer success manager, Jenny Sulfridge, met with the Rockwall Science Department. They use SIBME, but they've shared some really great ways that they have adapted and adjusted to teaching and learning remotely, and just some really exciting things that they're doing. So shout out to Rockwall Science for not skipping a beat and moving forward and doing everything you can for your students. Such powerful stuff.
Those guys are rock stars at Rockwall. Woo!
Yeah, they are. Yes, they are. All right, Brian. Well, you and I are going to have to catch up on some of these chicken stories off camera at some point, because I got to hear them. So
well, my grandfather says you're supposed to opinion them, but we never had the heart to do that. So, yeah, I know. So you're gonna have flying chickens. Chickens do fly.
Yeah, they've been testing their wings out, especially when my youngest Grace, she's a little bit like an Elmira, when she is trying to catch her chick Elsa. And Elsa, she's learned if she can flap her wings a little bit, she can jump about 3 feet. And so
they're out of the box, right?
We still have them in the brooder at most of the day, but when it's really nice outside and it's warm enough for them, we'll take them out just to the backyard and let them just kind of roam around and get used to scratching around, starting to put them in the coop every once in a while so they get used to that space, but they won't be outside full time for a couple more weeks. So it's a new life out here on the camp homestead.
This is going to be. I can't wait. I can't wait for it to be summer. Actually, see what these chickens are doing.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, it'll be fun. The good thing is I'm not in this alone. I've got our next door neighbor. That's the great thing about not having fences between the neighbors and I. We've got our co-garden. Now we've got our co-coop, and we are homesteading it together. So
does either yard have a set of slides or climbing mechanisms?
They do. So we both have some play sets. Theirs is a little bit better than ours. Ours is like an old school 80s play set in the back. So swings are a little bit lower. So our kids run back and forth between the two play sets, and they really just have a giant yard to go, and they'll drive their little remote cars all over the place. It's pretty awesome. And then just on this side of us up the hill, they've got a little one as well. He's a little bit younger than ours, but he'll join in on the play every once in a while. And so, yeah. And if we get enough speed going when it snows, we can actually sled from the top of that neighbor's hill all the way into the bottom of this neighbor's hill because we're kind of in the middle of it. So it's good life. So.
All right. Well, keep those chickens off the slides, though. That's where you're gonna get into some trouble.
Oh goodness! Yeah, I can see it now. All right, Brian. I'll see you next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye now.